Welcome to the Silhouettes of Success podcast with your host, successful entrepreneur, broker, and business mentor, Amber Weitzer. Because success comes in all shapes, sizes, and styles, the Silhouettes of Success podcast is shining the light on industrious women with a collection of curated conversations of intentional inspiration designed to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, feed your soul, and gift you with actionable insights directly from inspirational, everyday women who've shown tenacity, grit, and grace, having taken on the challenges in their lives and business and won. Remarkable, down-to-earth, and relatable, Amber and her guests will share with you uplifting and extraordinary real-life success stories, motivational ideas that just might help spark something within you. With the deepest desire to serve you, help you grow so you can begin to shine the light that will illuminate your very own silhouette of success. So, let's get to it.
Hello and welcome to the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success. Get ready to be truly inspired by today's VIP featured guest. She is the founder of The Fields, a luxury glamping resort located in her hometown of South Haven, Michigan. The Fields, recognized in Conde Nast Travel and Leisure, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and National Geographic, yes, let that soak in for a second, has quickly become one of glamping's premier locations, and its effect, or field magic, as guests affectionately refer to it as, has helped to identify her as one of the industry's leading hospitality operations experts. Silhouettes, please help me welcome Irene Wood. Irene, hello there.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for taking time. I don't know, is this peak season in Michigan?
This is, not peak season. This is ramp up season. So I would say we've been open this will be our third weekend already. And so we always say, like, the guests that see us on day one should have the same experience as those that see us on day 180. And so we are well kind of established in field camp.
Wow. Amazing. And so hopefully we're going to dive into that as much as you're able to today. So Irene, again, it is an absolute joy to be with you as you share your Silhouette of Success story. So thanks again. Let's just go right into this and have you help illustrate the shaping of your Silhouette of Success, and let you have the floor here and tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Wow. So thank you for the introduction. And, it's always interesting to hear questions and then take pause, because probably when you talk to tons of entrepreneurs and tons of gritty people who are starting businesses or have, all their successes, it really takes a very long time to earn success. And I always tell anybody that wants to start a business or do anything in life, and particularly as I mentor my own kids, the only way to get to, the end fast is to win the lottery. Everything else is just kind of shapen by one experience coupled with the next, and then piggybacked on the third. So really, to start, I always say I probably have always been incredibly hardworking. I grew up on a farm. Those of you that listen and those of you that don't, romanticize what that feels like or looks like, but it really is very long days and lots of chores for the sake of farming, which oftentimes is a very selfless act. It's for your animals, it's for your family, it's for food, it's for your community. And that's probably the first step if I were to kind of put together the base of what formulated Irene. And then, that just kind of goes into the next, which is, your high school experiences, your college experiences, your first and second professional experiences. And, while we talk about Irene in the glamping world, the reality is that I started off as an engineer. I had math and chemistry, and I was an automotive and then a pharmaceutical engineer, and then took that kind of logical problem solving and raising kids and really falling into this formula of what it's supposed to be like to be a woman of children, employed, role, and then felt so disconnected to it, not because I didn't love it, which I did, but I just was longing for kind of the human connection, which is really what led me to want to start the fields. So lots of little steps, but I would say the most formative, growing up on a farm.
Wow, that's outstanding. What a journey. How old are the kids still around? Are they grown? Are they
Yeah, so that's probably the next part, right? Without talking for 30 minutes straight. I had my I have a 32-year-old stepdaughter and two grandchildren, which is just awesome. And then I also have a 24-year-old son. He's working on his PhD at Syracuse in physics. I have a daughter who just graduated University of Colorado Boulder. She's 22, and then I have a 20-year-old son, Max. And so for me, starting this business was a matter of, frankly, necessity. They were leaving the nest, and I wanted to have something that was my own that would keep me busy. My husband travels a ton for work. He has his own success in his own right, and I didn't want to be one of those women that sat at home waiting for her friends, her husband, or her kids to come home, take me off the shelf, and play with me. That's a very lonely existence in my mind. And so I thought, I've got to create something that keeps me incredibly busy. And so, about the same time that all the kids were headed off to college, my family farm came up for sale. And I have five brothers, and I always tell the story that they all passed on the opportunity. And when my dad came to me to ask me if I might be interested, I was like, I'm in, let me do it. And it was timed perfectly. And of course, he's like, what are you going to do with the farm? Like, he is still very old school, that men farm and women, do the kind of household chores. And so I took over the family farm, which was really the first step in the fields. I mean, the first step was planted many years ago in my horror story of camping with five brothers. Let's just start there. And then it's kind of moved forward to I'm at my family farm. I've rented it for the season because I had to redo an 1880s barn, and the cost of that was coming in so high. My husband's like, for $10,000, we can just tear it down. And I thought, oh my God, I can never. I mean, this is like the pinnacle of our farm. And so I had rented the house, and one of the guests that was there is Jessica Zweig from Chicago. She's the founder of the Simply Be agency, and she saw the magic at the farm, and she was like, Irene, if ever you wanted to do something, I could help you do it. I could help you navigate through Go, because I had this idea of a business, but sometimes you don't trust your instinct, or you don't trust, like, this overwhelming feeling that I want to start something. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what colors it should be. I don't know how to brand it. I don't know how the guest is going to experience it. And just as I was formulating that, she had shown up to my life very serendipitously. And the two of us kind of brainstormed, and she really took what was in my head and helped me put it to paper. And thus the Fields was started.
goosebumps? you, wow. The serendipity, it's amazing that you said that, because I believe so much of we all encounter that, or hopefully, if we're fortunate, that happens to us. Sometimes maybe we're not ready to see it, but you were. And I'm writing as fast as I can, so I'm always grateful that we record these and can go back. But navigating through Go, what a godsend! I've never heard anybody say it that way.
Yeah, it is. It can be, in our house, we have everybody has these like little quips, it's like,
Uh huh.
we call them woodisms, all the things that our family says that and does that's just kind of unique to ours. And, no answer is an answer. No go is literally no go. Like, if you don't, you have to move. And so I think sometimes we get, like, handicapped by our inability or insecurity to think that we can do something. And, one of those things, now this is, the Fields was my first business, and I've since started a second. And the reality is that there is a ton of wisdom out there. There's not a ton of mentorship. And I used to be bitter about it. Like, why isn't anybody calling me back? I'm asking questions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm not trying to compete with them. I just want to ask, I want to tweak, or I want to be their friend. I mean, literally, I walk into the world. I know, honestly,
Yeah.
Irene's mission in life is to be friends with everyone. I swear to you, it really is. Like, I'm like, are we be best friends? And so I remember thinking, why aren't they calling back? And then I started 2 businesses and I realized they're not calling back, not because they're rude. It's simply, they're just so busy in their business, right? Like there's
Yeah.
so much pressing and so much at stake. And now I know that feeling. But since then, I've kind of made it my mission to put myself in a position where anybody that hears anything, whether they see it in an email, on a podcast, that they have access to my phone number, that they have access to my email, and I promise myself that I will respond to them. Now, here's the kicker. Do you know who calls? It is like a woman who's I had just had this week. It's like, talk about goosebumps. It was a woman who had started a glamping business or bought her family farm, started a glamping business or has a desire to. It was her dad's family farm, similar to mine, and her mom's name is Irene. And she heard a podcast and she was like, I know it's just, if there's only been a few Irenes in my life that have been not noteworthy, but
Sure.
what's the word? Like inspirational.
Yes.
And
Yes.
hopefully you'll respond to this. And I was like, I mean, I have to. So I think that that's the other part too. One of the things I find about women is just this sense of community and the willingness to be a cheerleader and a supporter. And the strength that we have is empathy. Like, I get where you're at. Let me help you. Has just been so pivotal, frankly, for my success. I wouldn't be successful if it wasn't, to be honest with you, a husband who was incredibly supportive, and friends, female friends who were like, we totally can do this. I mean, that's literally, I have this crazy idea. Jessica shows up. I go out for wine night with my girlfriends and I'm like, I have this idea and I feel like it's all coming together. And they're like, you should totally do it. Now we cheers to wine. I make this decision to move forward and nobody's like schlepping with me. And I always tease them all the time. I'm like, you thought this was a good idea. You all were supportive of it. So I think that that's what's behind us, is a warrior wall of women.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, that's amazing. So we hear all of that, and bad or good or pro or con, we see the social media and our marketing, and we put our heart and soul into that, but we're not, to your point, slinging mud and digging holes and putting the tents up and all of that. We don't see that all the time. So whenever we look at amazing women such as yourself doing all these great things, sometimes we ask ourselves, oh, how does she do it? How does she get it all done? You know, we don't typically see all the behind the curtains. So if we were to ask you, how do you get it done? How do you
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah. That's so interesting. And I always feel like that's the part that is the gift that women give to the world. And I think about it as our grandparents, our grandmothers, and our mothers. Have you ever seen them so elegantly put together a feast for your family?
Mhm.
When you were a child, you just enjoyed it and you
Yes.
didn't realize all the work that went into it. Nor did your grandma complain about it, nor did your mom complain about it. They just were so grateful to be able to serve you. And I've tried to, believe me, there are plenty of times I'm like, what am I doing? But I've tried to mirror that as it relates to the fields. Because I do think if people really saw what went on behind the scenes, they actually would like me even more. I really do.
Right.
I think that they would. Like,
Yeah.
I always tell this story. Like, I mean, we could have hours and hours and hours of Irene's horror stories at the fields, but the one that came to mind last year was we had expanded from 10 tents to 20. And when we were doing that, we placed the order for tents, and I've had the same tent manufacturer for years, and we have an incredible relationship. He puts them on a freight train, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the train is stuck in Salt Lake City. And we have guests showing up. And at the time, it was 10 days. And we were like, all right, it's fine. If the tents show up within 5 days, we'll still have time to lift them and put everything in. And the window is starting to squeeze. And as the window of opportunity to make sure we're not disappointing guests and having to cancel their week squeeze, I'm realizing we're in serious trouble, like serious trouble. And so I look at the team and I was like, okay, today's the day. Do we call these people and cancel their weekend, which would make me throw up because these are people's vacations that they've been planning for a year. Or do I get in a car and drive to Salt Lake City and figure out a way to get these tents off of a trailer, which again, by the way, is against the law, and load them up on the back of a trailer and drive them back? And that's exactly what we did. We loaded them. Me, Irene, borrowed a trailer, drove, and luckily enough, it had left the yard in Salt Lake City, so it had made its way to Chicago, like by the airport. But convinced a guy by the name of Dale, who by happenstance also happens to have the same name as my dad, and convinced him, he was a third shift guy, to if I snuck in the middle of the night, would he please load these skids of tents because otherwise I was going to be disappointing 40 guests. And he did it. And so I think for me, there's this part of me that likes to stay in the shadows and just do the work. Because I think that the fields, there's enough to talk about with the fields and its magic and what it does for people and engagements and weddings and just ceremonious, that I protect him from all of the other stuff that would for sure make me cooler, but I don't know for what. It feels very egotistical and self-indulgent. So, but yes, there's a lot of shit, sorry, but that goes on all the time and it's crazy. And I love those stories. And I reminisce and look back at them in kind of these moments of talking to somebody about where we've come in such a short time. But man, oh man, it's crazy. It literally is crazy.
So I was in the truck with you. I was in the train yard. Oh, that is
Yes.
fantastic. And yes, it is. It's an amazing dichotomy when you're in this service type of industry, any industry, or people think you're way out there, but really the core of it, you want to present, you want to serve, you want to do these things because you want to have them enjoy it. And sometimes that's just the blessing right there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a self-satisfaction. You're like, oh, look at them, look at the joy that my hard work is giving them. And I hear it in you. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, in the introduction, we shared some of your outstanding accomplishments and business accolades and showcasing the business. What would you say, could be any of those, are your most treasured accomplishments or successes? I just want to give you more and more compliments because I'm just, you're
Yeah.
building my energy up. You are so fun. You're as fun as I thought you would be.
Well, listen, I mean, I'll tell you when National Geographic put us in a book, they had this book that came out this year. It happened to be on National Margarita Day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to invite my girlfriends over. We're going to drink margaritas, and we're going to all sign this book." Um, but it's interesting. Probably the one that moved me the most was when we got the cover of Midwest Living. I had just opened in June, and they had come out, and they were like, "We want to put you on the cover." And I think the first for everything, you're like, "Oh, I mean, really?" Like because I saw myself so small. That's the other thing I think we do as women. We see ourselves so small. And I was like, why would they pick me? I mean, there's so many other beautiful places to pick. And since then, every other one has been just like unimaginable. I remember when Conde Nast put us on the top 20 places to see in 2020. I was like, no. I'm not ready yet. Like, I'm not ready. Why are you no, give me 2 more years. It's like having kind of back to the thought of hosting or serving. Have you ever had like your in-laws show up and they're just dropping in and the house isn't, you're just like, I'm not ready for that attention
Right.
yet, but are you
Yeah.
ever ready? Or like
True.
first date and he shows up 15 minutes early. That's the same feeling that I was feeling when that one hit. I think now, as I look to what's the greatest compliment? Um, we hug when guests leave. They give us hugs and tell us thank you for their time. And obviously, the greatest compliment is somebody coming back to see you. And we have guests that now are going to be on their 4th year with us, and we're watching just life. Their life, we just have a little bit of their life story, which is very sweet and tender. And, we get some notable guests. By notable, I mean, we always talk about people you would know or I would know just because their name is known. But the reality is that all guests, in my view, are known. And the way that they impact the world or impact our space is just pretty incredible. So the greatest gift is actually people showing up. The notoriety is sweet and it's nice, it's fleeting, but to have people on a daily basis continue to choose us to share their treasured time is the greatest honor and frankly a huge responsibility. They're with us and they're celebrating something or they're disconnecting. And so to own somebody's time in that way, I take as a very serious responsibility, and it consumes me, as you might imagine, all of the time.
Rewarding, and you're in harmony and you're giving them, just like you said, the tender moments for themselves, because time is so precious and they're choosing you. And what a magnificent accomplishment just in that itself. And then times however many guests you get. So,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, how fulfilling. As the business owner, and you just mentioned it does consume you, and that responsibility is amazing in a good and challenging way. Where do you turn to for support?
This is such a great question because I think that that's where, I've worked for a business before where I was able to leave it and go home and kind of participate in life. And then I now run the fields, which, you were talking about guests, and we have 6,000 guests a season. I know that doesn't seem like a
Wow.
huge number, but for us, that's a
Yes.
huge number. And
That's a
so
huge
for
number.
yeah. And so for me, I mean, every guest, like it's like I know guest 1, I know guest 32, I know guest 227. It's like you just know all the guests. And so a great resource is I have 3 actually. So the first one is I have a really incredible team, that's in it with me every day, who is living and breathing the guest experience with me. And we always kind of joke, someday we're going to write a book, The Guest, sort of like Chicken Soup for the Soul, with a little bit of the help kind of combined, where we have, the funnies and the not so funnies kind of slammed together at the same time. And we've been together for 4 years. And some of the people I worked with, I went to school with in grade school when I was a kid. So our story has picked up in our 40s and it has a new chapter. The second one, and I think that I'm very blessed in this case, is that I have a husband who has been running his own companies for the last 25 years. So he understands all of the emotions that come with entrepreneurship, the personal responsibility, the responsibility of branding and having that brand tied to your name, and then employees and caretaking, and then guests, and just those layers. And, the network of that. My girlfriends for sure. And I have a close knit group of them. I have them on a text chain called my girlfriends, and they live I live vicariously through all the fun things that they're doing. And then I share with them all the fun, crazy, like miserable things that I'm experiencing. And so it just is a little bit of like tap in, when I was joking, like, you all said to start a business. You all said it would be fun. And look at me now, where I'm buried in whatever it is.
Yeah.
I do think being a kind, good person who recognizes that you could never do this alone. And then always keeping the lines of communication open with your friends, your spouse, your employees, just really anybody that you can lean on in a moment is just so critical. It's just important for life, not necessarily for success professionally. I think for life, to be successful in life.
Oh, agree. And, thinking on that, maybe in a similar vein of conversation with that, and I'm quite confident, especially as you shared with us a little bit about those ups and downs and just real life as an entrepreneur and owning your own business. Many of us encounter those daily challenges, and sometimes we envision them as potential opportunities if you're in the right mindset in that moment. But when you see that coming your way, do you have a method, or how do you maybe evaluate or see the opportunity in a challenging situation?
So I have had to shift perspective a little bit. And I think a lesson came through in my maybe late 20s, early 30s. I read a book, and I think the book is called Bittersweet. I can't even remember the author, to be honest with you. And in the book, they talk about you can't have the sweet without the bitter. And instead of saying like bitter bad, what I did was that book helped me to reframe that bitter was growth. And so in there, when there's a lesson, a feedback from a guest, a imbalance from your spouse because you're too invested in work and not spending enough time, or similarly with your children, because that's the other delicate balance too. And you're getting kind of some of that, I don't want to say it's like gnarly feedback. You just kind of know something's off. The question I always ask myself is, what am I supposed to be learning and how am I supposed to be growing? And those were the two kind of sayings that the book had asked you to reflect on. And so in those moments when there's something that's off or isn't easy, or, at the fields, we say if it's not seamless and it doesn't feel effortless, we have to stop doing it or redo it different. And so in those moments where we ask ourselves that, the question I always go back to is, what am I supposed to be learning in this moment or in this feeling, and how am I supposed to be growing? And so I think if you're open to that versus resentment or feeling victim to the moment, I think that the outcome is always just so much more positive for you.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's also a great segue into one of the next topics or questions that we love to cover here as you're sharing such inspiration. I mean, I've got 3 pages of notes in my pencil scribble. So, but in talking about that, and you shared that book, and clearly it has stayed with you for a little bit, not too long, but a little bit. You've carried some of those good morsels with you. So, in that craving great resources that might stay with us or help inspire, uplift, expand our minds, encourage us, do you have a favorite resource, influencer, mentor? I always say book and author, and then sometimes people say, well, I don't read books anymore. Or I listen to podcasts. So any of the above. Is there anything that you really have as a go-to? Because clearly I will look this book up, Bittersweet, and share that in the resources because it serves you well. But is there anything else you can think of to share with us?
Wow. The reality is, I would say that the resources are endless. And that's the resources or mentors, whether they're active or passive, there's so many. And so I think about things like, I'll start with this, my dad. My dad is a very humble man of, grew up with little means. And, when I'm thinking through, like last night, I was working on a project that I thought would take an hour and it took 6. I wanted to go to bed. And I really did. I was like, I'm so tired. And my husband called and he was like, Irene, what are you working on? I'm like, I'm still trying to put this up and do this for work. And he was like, don't you have people that can help you with that? And I'm like, no, like this is something that, because I can visually see it and I can't explain it. And when I wanted to wrap up for the day and I just wanted to, the word was quit early, to be honest with you, I kept thinking about a saying my dad used to have. And this was one of those sayings. He goes, you don't go to bed when you're tired. You go to bed when you're done. And so in my mind, that little like back to this quip was playing in my head. And I was like, it's really only an hour more. And you can do it. Like you can kind of work your way through this. But, I think if you look at everyone that you encounter in your life as a teacher, and that the word isn't that you're consuming them in a way that feels like they're taking advantage. But if you look at everything as like, wow, I'm supposed to be learning from this, I think you see it from a different vantage point. But I would tell you, if I were to kind of just name some people that I love, Gary V motivates me. I don't know if anybody else watches him on social media, but he's just kind of a no nonsense, just kind of get in there and get it done kind of guy. I dig it. I really love, obviously I'm a huge fan of Jessica from Simply Be. She's literally a branding expert, but she helps you think through how to methodically develop a brand. You have a brand, I have a brand. And how does that translate into the world? Because you are your unique you. And so I adore her. I read a little bit of everyone and anything, but Shauna Nyquist, she just came out with a book, and in the book, she sent it to me. One of the things she talks about is just to be able to enjoy life's simple delights. And sometimes that gets hard when we get consumed in things. My husband is an incredible teacher and mentor. He's professionally been successful, but more than that, he has a kindness about him as I navigate through challenges or perspective that you wouldn't, think to. But I think if you ask more questions just generally in the world and you accept the answers as they come and you kind of put all of those answers into a basket, I do think you're better equipped and better equipped to kind of enter the world with a little more humility. And I feel like humility, to be honest with you, there's been a shift, I feel like, at least in the world, where humility is going a longer way than maybe some assertiveness may have been rewarded. I feel like humility and kindness and grace and empathy is just the new cool.
Yeah, as it needs to be.
Yes, for sure.
Right, as it needs to be. I would agree with you on a momentum shift, especially coming out of a lot of the online presence. I think we feel oversaturated and crave exactly what you're doing. We crave that human connection with a little bit of everything you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So, oh, okay, my lady. In respecting your time, I'm watching the clock here. This has just been so much fun with you. As we begin to wrap up, and it has been such a pleasure, that's an understatement, visiting with you in this short time, keeping the promise to share intentional inspiration with our audience. Is there, and you've given tons, but is there a one piece or a solid piece of key go-to advice that you'd like to share with the audience? Maybe something that you've held on to or something that was shared with you that you'd want to then share with us?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of threw in a couple, that were important. One came from my dad, another one came from, Jessica. But I guess for me, we talked about kind of how does Irene get formulated over the years that allows her to kind of tackle a job like we just mentioned. And when I was in school, I was a math major. That's how it started off. And the reality is that there is always an answer. I think people stop too early, or they're not confident enough of their ability to be able to find it or work their way through. And the reality is I'm not special. I'm really not. I'm not I'm not tall. I wasn't gifted with height or good looks or any of the other things that just kind of make life easier, or the path easier. And so I always say, the grass is only green when you water it. So you've got to be diligent and active and intentional in your daily life. And by being present and intentional in your daily life, I do believe you have the ability to be able to manifest exactly whatever it is that you dream. I mean, unequivocally. I believe so wholeheartedly in that.
You've rendered me speechless. That is, it is just poetic. It is just profound. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Wow. Good stuff. Okay, milady, the stage is yours, even more so now. Where can our audience go to find and connect with you on your socials and support you in your continued success?
Oh, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share all that. So I always tell everybody the easiest way to get a hold of me is through social. So you can follow thefieldsofmichigan.com. And if you have any questions, you can email through there. I'm the one that answers them. So we're at thefieldsofmichigan.com. My personal one is just Irene Wood. And my email address, I always share this, is Irene at thefieldsofmichigan.com. And then if you reach out, I have this personal promise to myself, and then I'll extend to you, is that if you're ever looking for inspiration, a question, a connection, just you're stuck, you want a different perspective, you just want a friend, a connector, I promise, and that's as good as a handshake, as good as any contract, that I will return any and every message in a way that allows you to navigate through whatever it is that you're needing help with.
That is huge. that service and that offer and opportunity right there. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Of course.
Oh, wow. Yes, it's definitely lacking. And for you to do that is just amazing. So thank you. That's
Well,
huge.
listen, there was people that did it before me, and it's just kind
Yeah.
of that pay it forward.
You know it, girl. Okay, I love it. Irene, thank you once again for sharing a portion of your silhouette of success with us. I think we're going to have a part two. Oh, you have truly been an inspiration for me and for all of us. So thank you once again for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Silhouettes of Success podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out and join us for all the new episodes. We are here for you and with you. We encourage you to share this podcast on all your socials and pass on the light to help illuminate another silhouette of success. Amber would love to hear from you, and you can find her on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or head over to amberweitzer.com. Let's connect. Help us all shine and leave us a review too. To find out the latest ways to inspire your heart, ignite your mind, and gain actionable insights, subscribe at amberweitzer.com. We are honored, humbled, and full of joy that you've tuned in. Remember, you are exactly where you need to be, right here with us. This is the Amber Weitzer podcast, Silhouettes of Success.